Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. Greetings and salutations. Thanks for being here. We got 3 hours of sports talk coming your way on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However you're tuning into the program today, thanks so much for joining us here for 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be in a bit. Brendan Warzinski is off today. I'm not going to hold you, folks. It is not often that the lead story of our radio show is so rudely usurped by two people making a public declaration of their love. But that's what happened today for 580 Sports Talk. So there is lots to discuss that is actually sports related because it is Cutdown Day across the NFL. And soon enough, we will know the official list of which players have been trimmed from the Chiefs camp roster to get down to the official 53-man roster, or the initial 53-man roster, really. And we'll get there. We'll continue our Chiefs countdown to kickoff. We're going to talk some college football today. KU, K-State, week 0. Questions that have emerged after seeing the Jayhawks and the Wildcats on the field for a game. We'll talk more Jayhawks with our guest today, Michael Swain. We'll talk Royals, even though it won't be fun because that was a clunker last night in Chicago. Maybe the worst game of the 2025 season for the Royals. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We'll do headlines. You know how Tuesday shows go around here. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. That is our lead story today on 580 Sports Talk. We want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 is the number to text the program. 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little interested in seeing if me repeatedly saying the name Taylor Swift will help drive our viewers up, maybe boost our algorithm, our SEO a little bit. I think give it a shot, right? I mean, that's what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is capitalizing on the traffic. Why can't we? Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are here for the first time or you are not yet subscribed, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hop in the chat. It's great to see Paul and Mark H., Christopher, and everybody in the chat today. I almost said Paul twice. Hi, Paul. Good to see you. That's how excited I am to see Paul, I guess. But look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along again in the YouTube chat today. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Tyler and Joe hopping in. Good to hear from you guys as well. Again, it's a great way to join the 580 Sports Talk community, interact with your fellow listeners, interact with your hosts throughout the show. And like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel because we're 8 subscribers shy of arm wrestling Ogeddon between myself and Brendan Warzinski. We're going to arm wrestle live on 580 Sports Talk, live on the YouTube channel. When we get to 800 subscribers, we are 8 subscribers shy. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel today. All right. I'm going to tell you something about, I'm going to start with a story. Okay, I'm going to start the show today with a story that you maybe don't think has anything to do with the big news of the day, but I promise I'll make it make sense. I was covering the NCAA basketball tournament in 2017 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And this is where Kansas was playing their first and second round games. That was an Elite Eight year for Kansas. Lost to Oregon in Kansas City in the Elite Eight. But they were playing in Tulsa first 2 rounds. And I was covering the event for WIBW. And I was in the bowels of the BOK Center, down near the locker room. We were getting ready to be allowed locker room access to talk to Kansas players. I think it was after a practice day. I don't know if it was after their game, their first round game, or after a practice day. The details have gotten a little bit fuzzy. But I'm standing in a line with other college basketball reporters and TV people and radio reporters like me. Everybody's standing in a single file line along a wall ready to go into this locker room. And I happen to be on my phone, and I'm scrolling what was then known as Twitter. And I saw a news item of college basketball significance that was very surprising to me. And I blurted out, Brad Underwood's going to Illinois. You may remember Brad Underwood, former K-State assistant. He had been at Oklahoma State. He's taking the Illinois job. That was announced and reported right then and there. And I blurted it out because I was so surprised. Brad Underwood's going to Illinois. And it sent the entire line of people, many of whom were like big deal college basketball writers that you would recognize, that were just as surprised by the news as I was. And so it was kind of fun to be in that grouping of people and all kind of talking about and reacting to the same surprising piece of news. Why do I tell you that story? Why do I begin with that story today? Because I cannot tell you what I would have given to have been in the media room at One Arrowhead Drive today when that Instagram post from Taylor Swift went live, and when that assembled media group all discovered that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged to be married. An Instagram post, by the way, that got 1 million likes in 8 minutes, which is astonishing. Anyway, I wish I could have been in that media scrum. I wish I could have found that out with other people who were every bit as surprised to hear it as I was. I bet that was a trip. How do I know it was a trip? I don't even have to bet. I know because Chiefs media availability for the day wasn't done yet. I actually had Spencer asked me off the air, and it's a funny thought. Do you think they held the Facebook post long enough to make sure Andy Reid didn't have to answer questions about it? Because he didn't, right? Like, Reid was done on the podium. It was Reid, it was Xavier Worthy, it was Mike Dana scheduled to speak today after Chiefs practice. And Reid spoke for about 5 minutes, and X spoke for about 5 minutes or so. And if you watch the video, because the Chiefs stream all of their press conferences, it's not that long between Xavier Worthy's press conference and Mike Dana's press conference. But it is in that period of time where everybody has found this out. Everybody has learned this news. And apparently everybody included Chiefs defensive end Mike Dana. So I'm going to play for you. I have the first minute or so of what had to have been the most surreal press availability or press conference of Mike Dana's NFL career, in which he is being asked to comment because he's the chief in front of a microphone. It could have been anybody. It could have been James Winchester. It could have been Harrison Butker. It could have been the last guy on the 53-man roster. It happened to be Mike Dana in front of a microphone. And look, you're not doing your job if you don't ask. So this was Mike Dana at the podium. I thought this was hysterical, so I'm sharing it with you.
You know what we're talking.
I don't know nothing.
Your reaction was,
man, it's incredible, man. You know, when I was hurt, I was caught off guard, you know, but, you know, great for them. And, you know, that's a blessing. I mean, anytime you find that type of joy, happiness, and love, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Do your teammates know? Are they aware of it now, too?
I just got told 30 seconds ago, so I don't even know if they know. So, but, you know, that's awesome. You know, I'm so happy for them, Trav, Taylor, like, that's a wonderful, you know, time in life, a wonderful part of their journey. So, you know, that's a beautiful thing to see.
Have you been around her?
Probably like once or twice, you know, New Year's party, you know, a few times at the game, after the game. But, you know, that's a great thing to see, you know, seeing them settle down and, you know, seeing all that happy smiles, happy faces between the two, you know, I feel like it's just an awesome time in life.
You wake up today thinking I'm going to be the one Chiefs player.
When I tell you that was not on my mind, and being the first one to talk to you guys about it, that's shocking to me. So
they did ask him some football questions eventually. But yeah, Mike Dana, that is the voice. If you're listening on 580 WIBW FM 104.9 and you heard the top of the hour CBS News, you heard that clip. You heard Mike Dana of all the Chiefs speaking on the big international news of the day. Because it's international news. Taylor Swift is maybe the most famous woman in the world. Maybe might not be a necessary qualifier. She might just be the most famous woman in the world. She's certainly one of the most famous, one of the most influential, one of the most followed on social media. Everybody's been asked to weigh in. They asked the president. Donald Trump did a cabinet thing today. Cabinet meeting, one of those public cabinet meetings that he does. And then they were asking him questions because Trump always takes questions. And they asked him about it. And I want to make sure I get the quote exactly right because they did ask the president on the record about the news. And his quote was, quote, well, I wish them a lot of luck. I think he's a great player, a great guy, and she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck. And it's nice that the president has done an about face on a woman that he tweeted, quote, I hate Taylor Swift about. That wasn't that long ago, was it? Maybe he forgot. Entirely possible. But anyhow, everybody's being asked to comment on this. And my comment on this is good for them. My comment on this is good for them. The timing of it is, I'm sure, not entirely coincidental, and not in the sense of we waited to release the pictures and do the Instagram post so that Andy Reid didn't have to talk about it. Not in that sense of it not being coincidental, but to do it ahead of the season so that there's no speculation week by week. Like last year, the whole thing about, oh, is Travis Kelce going to propose after the Super Bowl? What if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? Is he going to propose? You could have lit your money on fire making a bet, making a wager on that happening. They were taking those prop bets, maybe not in Las Vegas, but certainly in other countries that are happy to take American dollars on sports wagering. You could have made that prop bet. So I don't think the timing of it entirely coincidental. They've been together for 2 years. The relationship went public in September. 2 years is about an appropriate time to be dating before becoming engaged. About how long I dated my wife before I proposed to her. We were together about 2 years, just a little shy of 2 years. So it feels like appropriate timing. And look, we know that the relationship is the real deal because she went on that man's podcast. I asked my wife, you would come on my radio show? She said, no. she wouldn't do that. If she will go on your podcast, that's real love. That's real love. I got to convince my wife. She's got to come on the show now. If Taylor Swift would come on Travis Kelce's podcast, my wife's got to come on my show and get some takes off. One time, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. But the other thing that I'll say about this is I've been doing this a long time. I have been in some form or fashion doing sports talk radio going back to 2010 is when I got started doing this. I did an hour-long afternoon sports talk show every day for a small ESPN radio station in western Nebraska, west central Nebraska, not quite the Panhandle, North Platte, if you know where that is. And since then, I've been doing some form of sports talk, whether it was that, whether I did morning drive in Wichita for a little bit. I've obviously been on this show for an extended period of time, on and off. So that's a lot of sports talk. That's a lot of hours behind a microphone. And that means I've said a lot of stuff that other people have heard. And this is, at its heart, a prediction business, right? We're telling you what we think, and oftentimes we will tell you what we expect to happen, what we believe is going to happen, which means many times that we are wrong. Because if sports were so easy to predict that a jamoke like me batted 1,000 with all my predictions, they wouldn't be very fun to watch. Now, would they? So I've said a lot of stuff behind this microphone that ended up being really, really wrong. That's why I celebrate my wins, right? That's why when you get one right, you feel really good. I've said a lot of things on this radio program that turned out to be completely inaccurate and wrong. And I don't think I've ever had a sports take that was more wrong than my take on the Travis Kelce-Taylor Swift relationship, which I vehemently believed to be a PR stunt when it went public with Taylor Swift's first appearance at a Chiefs game. That Chiefs-Bears game, remember? Kelce scored a touchdown. Chiefs won by 1 billion points. It seems like forever ago. I was adamant behind this same microphone. Come on. They're playing us for fools. This is a PR thing. And maybe it's not for Travis, but certainly for Taylor Swift after having a previous public relationship that didn't end particularly well with a guy none of her fans really liked. Here's this fairly innocuous, broadly appealing football star from Middle America, playing for a team in Middle America. Yeah, this is an easy one. This is an easy one for Taylor. Easy PR win. That's what this is. She'll date him for a little bit. Date. I probably used air quotes. I'm sure. I didn't go back and listen to the audio on this. I should have. I should have pulled the audio. But I'm sure I was really obnoxious about it. That was wrong as hell, man. Those two people love each other. And now they're getting married. And it can't be anything but happy for them. Mike Dana said it exactly right. That it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful season of life that these two have entered into together. And look, shout out to Travis Kelce for this. Being secure enough in his masculinity to enter into a relationship and commit to a relationship where he ain't the breadwinner. Can you picture him standing with Taylor at, like, I don't know, the counter to a Starbucks or something, just standing there with his hands in his pockets while she breaks out the Discover card or the Visa? I got this. Yes, you do, honey. Yes, you do. That's manhood. That's masculinity right there. Secure in the knowledge that you don't have to be the breadwinner for the one you love. Congratulations to the two of them. In all seriousness, congratulations to the two of them. And again, I want to thank them for doing it today, because I'm not sure I could have given you a half hour on Cutdown Day. I don't have a lot of insight on why the Chiefs cut Melvin Smith. I'm sorry, other than they were always going to cut Melvin Smith. But after we take this timeout, our first timeout here on 580 Sports Talk, we will get to Cutdown Day for the Chiefs and across the NFL. Any surprises? Any player you'd qualify as a surprise cut for the Chiefs? They should be just about to be announcing their full component of cuts to get down to that initial 53 if they have not already released the full list. We'll break it down. We'll go through the cuts we already knew about. And as I said, we've got a lot of other things to talk about on the program today. We're going to talk KU, K-State, Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We will talk some Royals baseball. But had to begin with the biggest news story of the entire day. If you have anything else in the world that you want to just kind of news dump, today would be the day to do it, because America's sweethearts are getting married, and it will be the closest thing America's ever seen to a royal wedding. That is my thought on that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Your text, 785-272-9429. Your YouTube comments. We're talking more Chiefs on Cutdown Day in the NFL. Some dreams come true. Some NFL dreams maybe died today. Well, it's a stark pivot. Kind of depressing when you look at it that way. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 327 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting started on this Tuesday. Text line 785-272-9429. Text from the 785. Travis and Taylor could live stream their wedding and wipe out the national debt with the profit. Do a little pay-per-view for the wedding. Alternate idea from Christopher in the YouTube comments. The wedding has to be the Super Bowl 60 halftime show. Doesn't even matter if the Chiefs are in the game. Kelsey will just have to go up there with a tuxedo top over his uniform. Travis pretty serious about his craft. I don't know that he'd go for that, but maybe he would. Maybe he would. I do like what Paul said here, too, on the YouTube comments. It's my favorite thought of the Kelsey-Swift relationship. Imagine you're a pro athlete. You're the best to ever play your position. You're the second most famous person in your relationship. Not a lot of professional athletes can claim that they are the second most famous person in their relationship. It's an open question. Now it would not be an open question because baseball players don't rate like they used to in terms of like broad national fame. But it's an open question on the Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe thing, right? Like which of them was more famous? There's that old story where Marilyn Monroe told Joe DiMaggio about going to, I think it was a USO thing and getting this standing ovation from troops serving overseas and telling Joe DiMaggio, you never heard such cheering. And Joe DiMaggio saying, yeah, I have. So that's an open question. Halle Berry more famous than David Justice. That was in the news the other day. David Justice was being interviewed for some, I don't know who's talking to David Justice in 2025. But he was doing an interview talking about how he didn't feel like Halle Berry was wife material. Like she didn't cook, she didn't clean. Brother, you're missing the point of being married to Halle Berry if you're complaining about her cooking and cleaning skills. You have missed the point. That is why that relationship didn't work. But yeah, not a lot of them out there. Not a lot of them out there where that is the case. But you got to be you have to be secure. You have to be secure in your manhood to be okay with that. Obviously, Travis Kelce, pretty secure in his manhood. There is football news today. We do not yet have, at least officially from the Chiefs, the list of cuts. The last Chiefs social media post, in fact, is about the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift engagement. So that's what we're dealing with here on this Tuesday. But been a lot of reporting out there, so we do know several players who did not survive the cut, who were asked to see the Turk and bring their playbook and all that good stuff. We'll run through the list of known cuts. Bailey Zappi was cut yesterday along with offensive lineman Dalton Cooper. Mike Edwards was a cut late last night. And he had dealt with a hamstring injury in camp. And my first thought was, man, the Chiefs are going to be pretty thin then at safety for 2025 because they've already lost Deion Bush for the season. But remember, I believe it was Matt Derrick who told us this, if not last week, then the week before, that Chris Roland Wallace has effectively been converted to a safety spot. So that roster spot that we assumed was going to Mike Edwards has gone to Chris Roland Wallace. He's the fourth safety on this team. Instead of playing slot or playing on the outside, he's full-time safety now. And you would consider, obviously, Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks as your starters with that group, and Shamari Connors in that safety mix as well. So those are your four safeties for the Chiefs. Mike Edwards brought back. Chiefs didn't give him a ton of money, but they did give him some, guaranteed a year, and he does not survive the cuts down to 53. I don't know that they waived him with an injury designation. That wasn't clear if that's the decision there, but doesn't sound like it, at least for now, but we'll hopefully get some clarity on that a little bit later. If there was a player who was a bit of an eyebrow raiser that we saw their name on the list of cuts, it was probably Edwards today. Other cuts today, a couple of defensive tackles. Marlon Tuipulotu, who I thought might have made the team, and in a world where the Derek Nottie trade doesn't happen, I think he probably does, but Chiefs obviously trust the veteran, Nottie, and we'll keep him around on the 53. I'm sure the Chiefs would like to keep Tui Pelotu on their practice squad. We'll see if he clears waivers. Keziah Izzard's another one, undrafted rookie free agent out of Penn State, that they are probably hoping they can get through to the practice squad. That's likelier for him than Tui Pelotu because Tui Pelotu's got some NFL game experience. Nate Matlack, the former K-Stater, he did not make the team. He was a mid-season or mid-camp addition at defensive end when Chiefs needed a body, but he did not make the team. A couple of defensive backs, Melvin Smith and Kevin Knowles, were both cut. Knowles likelier to wind up on the practice squad than Smith, at least higher on the depth chart anyway. Couple of offensive linemen. Chu Godric was cut. No surprise there. If he does make it through waivers, the Chiefs can put him on their practice squad again as their international pathway player, which is a spot he's occupied, I think, for now 3 years. This would be the fourth, I think. I might be giving him an extra year off the top of my head, but chance for Godric to slip through there. CJ Hansen did not make the roster. He's a practice squad candidate. Esapole didn't make the team. And there was a part of me really rooting for Pole to make it. One, because he's a great story. We've told it a time or two, or at least referenced it on the show. He did not play high school football. His older brother played college football. I don't remember where. Might have been at Hawaii. I don't remember exactly where his older brother played college football. But Esapole, 6'7", 300 pounds, doesn't play high school football, and basically asks his brother, hey, can you teach me how to play football? Because he saw that as an opportunity to maybe get a college scholarship. He loved basketball, but he wasn't a football player in high school. So he learns how to play football. He goes to junior college, 2 years there, 2 years at Washington State, where he dominates as a senior. Doesn't get drafted. Chiefs snatch him up. He did not allow a single pressure in all of his preseason action. I think there's something there. I would have rather have kept him than Wanye Morris, to be completely honest with you. And I would be surprised if Pole makes it through waivers. But if he does, he's an easy practice squad ad for the Chiefs. I'm pulling for him. Cam Jones did not make the team. He's been a core special teamer the last few years. Cooper McDonald did make the team. And for me, that's just one guy beating out another guy for a job. Cooper McDonald looked better on defense. Cam Jones has never really been a guy that Steve Spagnuolo's trusted to throw out there a whole bunch. The only time you ever see him on defense is week 18 when the game doesn't matter. So Cooper McDonald made more plays defensively, and they felt like that was more valuable to them in a backup linebacker role, which I think you can understand. I mean, he certainly outperformed in game action during preseason, outperformed Jones, outperformed Jack Cochran, outperformed Cole Christensen, who was also a cut today. So Cooper McDonald makes it because he's more used to the defense. And congrats to Cooper McDonald, man. That is awesome. I love that for Cooper McDonald. Undrafted kid out of TCU. He makes the team. Matt Derrick had been talking him up throughout camp, saying this is a kid who keeps impressing. He keeps making plays in practice. He made plays in the games. He earned himself a 53-man roster. I think he just flat beat out Cam Jones for a job. Speaking of undrafted free agents, Carson Steele did not make the team. And what this suggests to me is that the Chiefs are only going to keep 3 running backs on their roster. Now, which 3 are still a bit of an open question to this point. I cannot imagine it's going to be Elijah Mitchell. I have to believe that it will be Brashard Smith with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. More about Pacheco later in the show. It's his day on the countdown. But Carson Steele did not make the team. Not a real big surprise to me. Did not feel like he was particularly trusted. Had the fumble issues last year. And if there is one way to work your way out of the good graces of Andy Reid, it is put the football on the ground. So I'm not entirely surprised that the Chiefs did not keep Carson Steele. I know they had him listed at fullback. He wasn't a fullback in the way that like Michael Burton and obviously Anthony Sherman before him were fullbacks. So it was an awkward positional fit, and I'm not surprised that Steele was cut. And I wouldn't be shocked if they were able to practice squad him either. Just kind of an awkward fit, just kind of a tweener, I guess, that you would call Carson Steele. Chris Oladokun was cut. He didn't seem too upset about it. He went and played golf and made a nice little wedge shot today for birdie. He was posting about on X. So he didn't seem too upset about it. And he probably wasn't too upset about it because I'm sure the Chiefs have told him, hey, when you clear waivers, you're coming right back as our practice squad guy again. It'll be him and not Zappy who hangs around as the third quarterback because, as we've detailed, the Chiefs like having Oladokin around to simulate some of the more athletic quarterbacks on the Chiefs' schedule in practice. So Oladokin definitely strikes as somebody who's going to be on that practice squad. Trey Watson, we hardly knew ye. Hal Presley, we hardly knew ye. Those are both confirmed cuts as well. But we're a long way from having enough cuts, public knowledge, to be down to 53. So that's where we stand right now, is we're still waiting on the rest of the cuts today for the Chiefs. But those are the cuts for today. Again, nothing, I would say, earth-shattering by any stretch of the imagination. Mike Edwards, maybe a little bit of an eyebrow raiser, but if you consider Chris Roland Wallace a safety, I'm not surprised they kept Roland Wallace over Edwards. Like, if that was for a roster spot, I've been arguing Roland Wallace needed to be on the roster, so he beats out Edwards. Cooper McDonald beats out Cam Jones. Chiefs are probably going with 7 wide receivers. I would assume that Carson Steele being cut is probably really good news for Nico Remigio to have the edge as the 7th wide receiver. Now, there were guys who went out and practiced today for the Chiefs who were entirely in limbo. They practiced more than 53 guys, but there were guys who left the practice field maybe not knowing what their status was going to be and whether they were going to be on the team or not. But still some decisions to be made. Those decisions, I shouldn't say that. Still some decisions to be announced because the decisions have been made. The deadline was 3 o'clock, 38 minutes ago. So every decision that was going to be made, at least for the initial cuts, has been made. And then after that, teams have until 11 a.m. tomorrow to put in waiver claims on anybody who was released by another team in the initial round of cuts. So that's what we can tell you now. We'll update you when the Chiefs pass along their full list of cuts down to 53 as we go along on the show. But when we come back after this break on 580 Sports Talk, I put it off long enough. We got to talk about that Royals game because I think it was the worst one of 2025. We'll get there next on 580 Sports Talk. couple of thoughts from the comments about cut day for the Chiefs. Andrew notes Tyquan Thornton made the roster. I don't think that was in doubt from day one of training camp. Based on everything he did in the summer workouts, OTAs, and what have you, I think Tyquan Thornton entered camp with a roster spot. It was his to lose. Jesse Newell had his initial 53-man roster projection back when he still worked at the Kansas City Star, and he had Thornton on it. So I don't think that was ever a question that he was going to make the team. David from Facebook. Welcome, David. You can comment live while watching the program on our Facebook page, WIBW News. David asked why Nazeeh Johnson is still on the team. Look, Steve Spagnuolo is a Nazeeh Johnson fan. Really likes him. Nazeeh Johnson contributes on special teams. And I thought that after having a rough first preseason game, he was having a very good second preseason game before he got hurt. I am not going to be surprised when he's on the 53-man roster as announced. We don't have, again, the full list yet, but he can make 53. I don't think there's much question about that. But certainly, like we talked about with Nazeeh Johnson, we talked about throughout camp, there's a lot of not great film from Nazeeh Johnson from 2024. But he's a favorite of Steve Spagnuolo's, and Spags knows more about defense, has forgotten more than I will ever know. So we'll give Spags the benefit of the doubt on Nazeeh Johnson, at least for the start of 2025. He's also, I don't know the status of his shoulder injury, but he's a candidate to be an early season IR too. Although I think if he were going to be IR'd, that would have meant that maybe one of Melvin Smith or Kevin Knowles would have made the roster. So thanks for the comments. Appreciate you watching. Again, we're on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. We're on Facebook, WIBW News. And you can text the show, 785-272-9429. The Royals last night. I went to work on putting together a rundown for the show, and under Royals, I just wrote, yikes, in all caps. Because last night might have been, all things considered, the worst night of the season for the 2025 Kansas City Royals. Noah Cameron was shellacked, didn't miss a single bat, did not strike anybody out in his 5 innings of work, although at least he gave him 5 innings. Royals needed that. They couldn't afford him coming out of the game in the third or the fourth inning. They needed him to pitch. And if it is any small consolation, any silver lining in the cloud, at least the inevitable regression start from Noah Cameron, which was always coming, unless you thought that Noah Cameron was an elite major league pitcher, which I think he's a good major league pitcher, but he's a long way from elite, and he's a long way from being a guy you expect to submit an ERA in the mid-2s over the course of a full season. Regression happens. Start where you don't have it happens. And at least it happened on a night where there was no chance the Royals were going to win because they didn't do anything on offense. And to say they didn't do anything on offense might be a charitable reading because they only had 2 hits. Shane Smith broke it off in them last night. Very impressive performance from the White Sox right-hander and just a lethargic performance from the Royals in a way that I haven't really seen them play with that kind of a lack of energy all season. That was very strange. They just kind of felt lifeless last night. And look, it's a 162-game season, and that means that even the very best teams will have a handful of games every year where they come out of the dugout and they ain't got it. Their starting pitching doesn't have it. The offense doesn't have it. You just don't have it. And last night was one of those for the Royals. It's problematic when that happens on August 25th, and it happens against a team that you have previously owned and need to beat. And it gets really problematic when you look out at the out-of-town scoreboard, wherever they've got that at Rate Field these days, and you see Yankees win, Red Sox win, Mariners win. So the Royals drop a game on everyone. They're now 4 games out of a playoff spot, 5 out of the first wild card, and the playoff odds for the Royals took an hit accordingly. Is probably a more appropriate way to say that. Baseball Reference playoff odds now for the Royals, 18.2%. Fangraphs playoff odds, 11%. There isn't a lot to say about last night's game. Certainly not a lot to say that is kind. I had forgotten the White Sox tacked on a run in the 7th against Daniel Lynch and made it 7-0. But there was just nothing happening all game for the Royals. And it's not as though they were overpowered, but they were making a lot of quick outs. It only took Shane Smith 80 pitches to get through his 7 innings. And again, when I say not overpowering, there were only 5 swinging strikes the entire game. The Royals only struck out 3 times against Smith and only 4 times in a game. It's not like they just got totally dominated. They were just completely ineffective with the bats in their hands. Didn't hit anything with authority. They've had games this year where they've hit into some bad luck. We've talked about that. They made some loud outs, hit into some bad luck. That wasn't the case last night. They couldn't do anything. And again, were they beating the ball into the ground? Well, no. They had 7 ground ball outs of their 27. Only 7 came on the ground. They had 18 outs on fly balls. Just lazy fly balls. A whole lot of lazy fly balls last night. And that's the kind of game it was. I mean, like I mentioned, Noah Cameron didn't strike anybody out in his 5 innings of work. There were only 3 swinging strikes for him. He had 19 fly balls off of the bat and 10 line drives. He got strafed early and often. But until the 8th inning, the Royals pitchers had not struck anyone out or walked anyone, which is exceedingly rare for all of baseball history, not just the modern era where you have more and more of the 3 true outcomes. It got to the 8th inning, and a Royal pitcher had not had a strikeout or a walk. And then it happened, of course, on back-to-back batters because that's baseball. Michael A. Taylor struck out, and then Corey Lee drew a 2-out walk in that 8th inning. The Royals hadn't had a game where they didn't strike out a batter as a pitching staff since 2013. And they still haven't had one since 2013, but they very narrowly avoided that being the case. Just nothing good happening for the Royals last night. Nothing good happened for them on the out-of-town scoreboard either. It's just a very, very grim night for the boys in blue, and they are going to need a bounce back behind Michael Lorenzen tonight. We will have that game for you right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Pre-game coverage coming up at 6 o'clock, so when we're done here, and we'll have the first pitch, of course, at 6:40. We'll let the Bard have the final word on that miserable performance. The Bard on a YouTube comments with a haiku. Harry Doyle resounds, but he'd be disappointed because they got 2 blank hits. one of the great line reads. You can't say that on the air. Oh, who cares? Nobody's listening anyway. One of Harry Doyle's great lines in the original Major League. We'll take one more time out. When we come back, who doesn't like the Farmageddon name for the K-State Iowa State rivalry? Somebody doesn't, and that somebody told ESPN about it. And we'll talk next on 580 Sports Talk as we wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. 3:53 on 580 Sports Talk, wrapping up the opening hour of the show with this from ESPN's College Game Day podcast. Reese Davis is on, and they were talking about the K-State Iowa State game, and one of them, I missed who the other person was on with Reese Davis. I maybe just didn't recognize the voice, or I was distracted when I was listening to it because I was reading the transcript. And they referred to the game as Farmageddon, if we can call it that. And Reese Davis made the allusion that there were higher-ups that do not like the nickname Farmageddon for Iowa State and Kansas State. Now, I don't know. It wasn't really clear if he meant Big 12 higher-ups or he meant K-State and Iowa State higher-ups. The former makes a lot more sense than the latter. I would think that K-State and Iowa State people would be fine with it. I could see the Big 12 looking at a game nicknamed Farmageddon and thinking, that makes us sound kind of small time and small town and a little too country. And we're a bigger deal than that. And we don't really want to be, we don't want to associate that with this game. And that's such nonsense if it's coming from the Big 12. Who doesn't like the nickname Farmageddon? Number one, it's organic. It's not something that was constructed by the schools to try and gin up interest or generate ticket sales or attention for the rivalry. It's just something somebody came up with and somebody else laughed and said, yeah, we'll go with that. And it's just spread. It's a totally organic nickname. You never get stuff that's organic like that in sports marketing anymore. So that's one reason to love it. It's descriptive. It's unique to the game. What other rivalry are you calling that? What other rivalry can you give the name Farmageddon to? There isn't one. There isn't another game where you could reasonably use that descriptor for a football game between two schools. It's perfect for Manhattan, Kansas, and Ames, Iowa. It is perfect for Kansas State and Iowa State, two proud land-grant institutions in two proud farming agricultural states. It's perfect. And I would argue that the presence of the nickname Farmageddon has added something to a rivalry that didn't really rate outside of the two proud agricultural states in which Kansas State and Iowa State play football. That was not a game that resonated nationally. And now, and yes, some of this is because Kansas State and Iowa State have been relevant within the Big 12 and as such nationally relevant in a way that not every program is. Certainly Iowa State hasn't been for the better part of its entire existence. But I think the nickname has added a little spice to the rivalry. This should be the kind of thing that the Big 12, which is so image conscious, should embrace. They should love this. They should release a Bathing Ape Farmageddon branded merch because it gets people talking in an excited way about Big 12 football. But I have a feeling somebody who's maybe a little too cosmopolitan in that Big 12 marketing office says, I don't know. I think we kind of want to downplay the fact that our schools are land-grant schools. We want to downplay that. We got to be more cosmopolitan as a conference. No, you don't, man. Embrace the land-grant institutions. Embrace Farmageddon. You'd have to be stupid not to. Drives me nuts. I like a lot of what the Big 12 has done, but if Brett Yormark's behind this, he's wrong on this one. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, questions arising out of week 0 from KU and K-State, plus Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain, and what is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 on this Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. Great to have you along. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you till 6 o'clock tonight, at which point we will give way to the Royals Baseball Network Game 2 in Chicago against the White Sox, as the Royals try to bounce back from, I really believe, their worst performance of the season last night, a 7-0 loss in which the Royals managed just 2 hits. So we'll have the game for you tonight, a 6 o'clock pregame, a 6:40 first pitch from Rate Field. We have this hour of the show our guy Michael Swain joining us. Michael Swain from Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, will join us at the bottom of this hour for Jayhawk Weekly. We'll get his impressions of the opening game of the 2025 season for the Kansas Jayhawks, an impressive home win against Fresno State. We'll also have a round of What Is Wrong With You. And speaking of KU, for both KU and K-State, who played on Saturday in week 0 and had very different experiences, very different caliber of opponent, very different circumstances, very different stakes, and ultimately very different outcomes, a win for KU, a loss for K-State. Questions that have emerged for both schools coming out of that opening week. Want to hear from you? 785-272-9429 is the text line. And hey, if you've got a question about KU or K-State after week 0 or a comment, get it into the text line, 785-272-9429, or you can hop in the comments on the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. Go ahead and hop in that live chat, interact with your fellow listeners, interact with your hosts here on the program today. And if you are not subscribed to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, today's a great day to do it and get us closer to the stretch goal of 800 subscribers, at which we will have the arm wrestling match that everybody has been waiting for between myself and Brendan Brzezinski. I've been cross-training, by the way. Been holding my son with both my left and my right arm lately. Had to hold him a lot last night. We had a long night last night. Don't know if it's clingy phase. Don't know if it's teething. Don't know if it's a combination of the two. That little boy did not want to go to sleep for long in his own crib last night. And mom had to pull some recliner duty last night, and she is a warrior for that. I cannot say enough wonderful things about my beloved wife. I hope we don't have a repeat of that with the little one tonight, and I will definitely be on recliner duty with Ash if that would come to be. But I say that to say I'm ready. I'm jacked and I'm pumped in a literal sense for some arm wrestling. But you got to get us to 800 subscribers first. So if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, no day like today, go find us on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Slam that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a click, and it will get us closer to that stretch goal of 800 subscribers. We are 8 shy entering today. So looking for more of you. We need 8 more heroes. I know you're out there. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Before we dive into some college football, want to also call your attention to what is up on our website at 580WIBW.com. It's the 39th annual Pigskin and Hoops Preview. It's the second year that we've done it as an online-only publication, which allows us a little bit of flexibility. Number one, we can correct typos. That's always nice. Number two, we can be nimble with the information we provide. We can publish it now and have it be as up-to-date as possible. And we can update it as more information comes in and have you fully ready and fully knowledgeable for the start of the high school football season, which is next Friday, same day that the Chiefs start. It also gives us a chance to publish more timely and accurate information when we come around to basketball season, when we'll publish all our basketball previews in November. So the football previews for the Pigskin and Hoops magazine, an online-only publication, not something physical you can hold in your hands, but you can hold your phone in your hand and go to 580WIBW.com. You can find the Pigskin and Hoops preview. We got more previews posting every weekday up through Friday, and then all 28 will be published. We will do some more tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. Today, we published McLouth and Linden. So if you're a fan of one of those two schools, your preview is up today at 580wibw.com. The main table of contents page is right front and center on our website, the 2025 WIBW Pigskin Hoops High School Sports Preview. You can go find all of the previews there or by going to High School Sports News on the Sports tab on the website. Again, 580wibw.com. So hopefully you are able to enjoy those previews. Follow us on social media, WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on X. We've been posting them as we publish them. So hope you are enjoying those. Hope those are getting you excited for high school football. Of course, next week, next Friday, we start our 580 Preps Game of the Week coverage. And we begin it with a doozy. The War on 24, Rossville hosting Silver Lake will be our first broadcast on Friday, September 5th. It'll be in our sister station, Country 106.9, because we'll have Royals baseball here tonight. But that will be the start of our high school football schedule. I'm looking forward to being the voice of high school sports once again here throughout the season on 580 WIBW. So some business out of the way there. Let's get back into the sports. KU and K-State both have a game under their belts heading into week one. K-State's was a loss. KU's was a win. Meaning that as we look at the questions that were raised by each team's performance in week zero, the K-State questions lean a little more negative, and the KU questions lean a little more positive, naturally. But I'll start with K-State because for everything we saw KU do on Saturday, it was not such a revelatory performance that we now, I think, elevate them into a conversation where we think they could win a Big 12 championship, where with K-State, that was the expectation, and those chances take a hit with a week one conference loss. Like I said on Monday, you have a mulligan, at least I think you have two. You have at least one, because nobody's going undefeated in the league. And I don't think anybody's going 8-1, to be honest with you. I think there's going to be a mess of teams at 7-2. And so you have mulligans in league play. You just don't like to spend one on the opening tee box. And K-State, unfortunately, has had to spend a mulligan with a 3-point loss in that game to Iowa State. But the questions that emerged for me from Kansas State from that game, and this is not a unique question to me. This is a question that's kind of been percolating a little bit among people who follow the team, people who cover the team. And I think this is probably the most pertinent question about Kansas State and, by extension, the leadership on this Kansas State team. Do they have enough dog in them? Let me flesh that out. There's the never-ending dichotomy. On one side, you have that boy nice. You have skill and talent and flash and self-evident God-given ability where it is obvious to everyone watching that's a special player, that's a special talent, that boy nice. On the other hand, you've got dog in them. That maybe they're not the most athletic. Maybe they're not the flashiest. Maybe they aren't the most explosive or the most exciting. But they don't quit. They walk through hell in a gasoline suit to win a game. They got that dog in them. And it is opposite ends of the spectrum many times. You have that boy nice and dog in them on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Avery Johnson's nice. Like, that is a that boy nice first team Big 12 quarterback. The skills, the athleticism, the arm, it's all there. It's all there if you've watched him play for even half a game of football. He's self-evidently talented. He's been a big talent ever since he was at Mays High here in Kansas. And he continues to be the kind of talent that when you watch him, it is not hard to see the potential for all-conference, all-American, Heisman Trophy type of play. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, you have Rocco Becht, who completed half his passes against K-State, had a lot of bad misses. But when the play needed to be made to sustain a drive on fourth down, to go win a football game in the fourth quarter, Rocco Becht went and made the play. Rocco Becht has that dog in him. Rocco Becht last year played one of the worst games I've seen a quarterback play against UCF, but he led 2 scoring drives in the fourth quarter to go win that game on the road. Like, that's who Rocco Becht is. Is he the most talented? Does he have the best arm? Is he the fastest? Is he the biggest or the strongest? No, he's none of those things. He's tough as hell, and he doesn't want to lose, and he will find a way to make the play to win the game. He's got that dog in him. Is there enough dog in Avery Johnson? Is there enough dog in these Kansas State Wildcats? Because it did feel like there was one team for whom losing was not an option on Saturday, and it wasn't Kansas State. And maybe they took to heart a little too much an offseason full of Chris Kleiman saying, we are not going to let what happens in Ireland define our season. That's the right thing to say. It's the right attitude to have if you lose. It's the attitude Kansas State now has to have, starting with North Dakota on Saturday and moving forward. But that's if you lose. Going into the game, you have to look at it as this is the chance to define our season, and we would sooner kiss the Blarney Stone than lose this football game. And that was Iowa State. The team that wouldn't lose was Iowa State. The team that it was not an acceptable outcome for them, that felt like they were more desperate. I hate using the phrase wanted it more because everybody wants to win, but there was much more energy, much more dog in the Cyclones than there was in the Wildcats. So that becomes the biggest question for this K-State team. Do they have enough dog in them? Are they too pretty? Are they too much of a flat track bully that when things are ideal, when conditions are ideal, they can beat the hell out of you because they've got star players, they've got star athletes, they've got explosiveness on offense? I'm telling you, you look at the schedule, there are going to be some teams they flat out embarrass this year. If the passing game is as explosive as it looked like it can be against that Iowa State team in the second half when the rain let up and it became possible to throw the ball down the field effectively, Kansas State's going to score plenty of points. They're going to be just fine on offense. They're going to get Dylan Edwards back eventually, and they're going to put up some numbers. They're going to raise some eyebrows when the conditions are ideal, when everything is in their favor. Can they do it when the weather sucks? Can they do it if the officiating gives them a raw deal? Can they do it when their backs are against the wall? Can they get tough? That's going to be what defines this Kansas State season. Are they tough enough? Is there enough dog in them? Is there enough dog in Avery Johnson? Because he's the quarterback. He's the leader. And I loved hearing what I heard from sideline reporter Taylor McGregor during the game on Saturday, that Johnson was trying to get the troops rallied a little bit on the sideline and getting in guys' face, getting in his offensive line's face and saying, hey, we're not going to lose this game because we do it to ourselves. We're not going to beat ourselves today. I loved hearing that because I don't think that's necessarily something that we got a lot last year from Avery Johnson. We need that Avery Johnson. We need an Avery Johnson, if you're Kansas State, to grab that team by the scruff of the neck and drag them across the finish line, because he should be the best player on the field most games that K-State plays. So got to have that. Got to have that. That's the big question for Kansas State coming out of that game. The other question that I have that is interesting, there was a lot made of the transfers. A lot made of the transfers at offensive line. We didn't see them much. We looks like Andrew Leingang is beating out Terrence Enos at right tackle. J.B. Nelson wasn't full-time in the game at guard. Obviously, what happened to George Fitzpatrick is its own category, and it certainly won't ding that young man for the medical episode that he suffered in the summer that has kept him off the field. But a lot was made about rebuilding the offensive line for K-State. Last year's wasn't good enough, and it wasn't. And we're going to get better up front, and they were going to hit the portal to address it. And two of the portal guys weren't full-time performers on Saturday. So did they miss in the portal, or are the interior is not the word. Maybe it is. The interior improvements, the improvements, in-house improvements by guys like Andrew Leingang, are those more encouraging than what they have gotten from the transfers? That's going to bear watching because, again, I didn't think the offensive line was terrible on Saturday, but when you fail to convert a couple of crucial 4th and 1s, some of that comes down to the offensive line and the execution up front. So they got to be better. They got to be better. Text from the 785 says, Joe, I see you jumping off the Cats bandwagon pretty quickly. I still think they can win the league. I'm not off the bandwagon. My question is, are they going to be tough enough in the face of adversity? Because they faced adversity on Saturday, and they weren't the tougher team. I think they're going to be the better team in a lot of games they play this year. But sometimes better's not enough. They got to be the tougher team. I still think that's in them. I'm not off the bandwagon. I'm not changing my prediction. I said when the season started, the first game would be the last game. We would see Iowa State and K-State again in Arlington. I still believe that. I didn't see anything from K-State that makes me think anything less of them as a group of talented football players. But they have got to be a little tougher to take that next step and be a team that maybe goes 11-1, maybe goes 10-2, and maybe builds a compelling case for the playoff, even without a Big 12 title. So I'm not off the bandwagon, not by any stretch, but they've got some questions to answer. They got to dig deep. They got to do some soul searching. They got to do a little bit of introspection about why it is that they couldn't win that game. And I think some of it came down to just didn't have enough dog in them that day for whatever reason. For KU, obviously, it's a more positive conversation to have coming out of a win on Saturday against Fresno State. Two questions I have for KU. Number one, how do you keep Leroy Harris off the field? There were a lot of really impressive defensive performances for KU, and we went through them on Monday's show, and we'll talk more about some of those guys with Michael Swain here in about 15 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. But one guy who just leapt off the tape was Leroy Harris, who was a transfer in from Chattanooga. So an FCS transfer, just a sophomore, would not have started if Dean Miller had been healthy. But how do you keep him off the field? Man, he was extremely impressive. He got into the backfield. He got after the quarterback. He made plays in the running game. He feels like a guy who needs to play quite a bit. And this level of depth on the defensive line, I don't know that KU's had in some time, because Miller's going to come back and start, and Justice Finkley's going to be on the other side. And those are two veteran starters who played a lot of Power 4 football. But Leroy Harris looked like a guy you got to find a place for and got to find some snaps for. So that was a really exciting development among many for the KU defense. The big offensive question, how to deploy the speed of Emmanuel Henderson. And I think that's a question with some easier answers. If Cam Pickett and Levi Wentz are going to be field stretching threats, downfield threats, Pickett certainly shown that he could be somebody that you get the ball to in the flat and can make things happen. But Henderson's so explosive as an athlete, they'll have to do more, I think, to manufacture Henderson some touches in the open field, in the flat, get him with the ball on the move with blockers in front of him. Maybe they kept some of that in their back pocket because it was Fresno State. Certainly, if there's anything they have an inclination to keep in their back pocket with Wagner coming to town, they'll certainly do that. But I want to see where his touches are going to come from primarily, because he caught 3 passes for 24 yards in the opener, and he had the 1 kick return for 14 yards. There's obviously more there KU players, coaches raved about him all spring, all summer. There's more there. How are they going to get to it and complement the work that they saw from Pickett and Wentz and the tight ends in that opening game? Again, they are good questions for KU. They are not so fun questions for K-State. Tyler in the YouTube comment says, this is the year for KU to be K-State. A lot of dogs in crimson and blue. Look, I will believe that KU can beat K-State when I see it, because it hasn't happened since 2008, as is well documented. But they keep coming closer. And this one's going to be at a sold-out, reimagined David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium. It's not going to be a cakewalk. We've seen some K-State cakewalks in the series, not recently, but we've seen them. This won't be one of them, that's for sure. And yes, KU is going to have a defense, it would appear, with the kind of speed to counter some of the speed that K-State does have. That was something that jumped out to me most about the KU defense, watching them in person on Saturday. It was just how fast they played. It was very impressive. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, it's What Is Wrong With You time, and then Michael Swain of Fog.net will join us for some more Jayhawk talk for Jayhawk Weekly. This is 580 Sports Talk. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. Two new stories competing today. Try to take down our Monday champion. The guys who broke into the Bengals stadium in Cincinnati to try and steal a smoker. They jumped the fence. They were trying to steal the barbecue smoker. No idea how they plan to get it out. I don't think they even knew if they had a plan to get it out, but they were both arrested. Two new stories today. Spencer, how about you go first?
Yeah, we're going to go to Cripple Creek, Colorado. You know where that is?
I do. It's a gambling town.
Yeah, that's part of the story. A man in Colorado was arrested after authorities said he stole more than 76 grand from a casino. Arrest papers for 26-year-old Andrew Joel Irvine suggested that this was not his first theft attempt at the same Cripple Creek casino. According to the arrest affidavit, surveillance video at the casino showed Irvine arriving at the casino unmasked just after 4 p.m. The video then shows him going upstairs and looking around the hallway leading to the cashier's cage before going back outside. The video shows him re-entering the casino through the same door about a minute later with a mask on. Employees allegedly told police that he had jumped the cashier's cage counter, quote, just like last time, referring to an incident on July 19th, where a cashier was able to push him away before he could take any cash. He reportedly did not interact with the cashier at all during the alleged theft, which lasted less than 2 minutes total. 2 minutes total, as the employee was in the room attached to the cage at the time. The arresting officer noted he had an active warrant for that incident. The arrest paper said he was found later in the day in Colorado Springs and taken into custody by police. The arresting officer wrote that during the brief interaction with him while he was checking on him in a holding cell, he said unprompted, "I was dumb. I broke the law."
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was still in jail as of last Wednesday with a $50,000 bond.
You know the song Up on Cripple Creek by the band?
No.
I bet you've heard it. It's one of those I bet you've heard. It's a great song. That's all I can think about. It's running through my head as I'm hearing this story. I mean, wild move. If at first you don't succeed, right? You try again.
Yeah, I guess.
I've never been to Cripple Creek. I've been to Black Hawk, which is a different mountain gambling town. Cripple Creek's a little further south. Black Hawk's closer to Denver. Cripple Creek's closer to Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, look, yeah, you tried it, didn't work, and he was undeterred. He said, you know what? I just didn't have enough dog in me that first time. That was the problem. Get after it again.
Didn't have enough dog in him that time either.
No, clearly he did not. A drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. All right. My story today, we meet George Herman Ruth. That is a familiar name if you are a baseball fan. That is the given name of arguably the greatest baseball player to ever live, Babe Ruth. That's not who we're talking about. Babe Ruth has been dead he died in 1948, so he's been dead for close to 80 years. That's not who we're talking about here. We're talking about a 69-year-old from Morristown, Pennsylvania, who's being charged with 91 counts on an indictment handed down in U.S. District Court in Greenville, Tennessee. Counts include mail fraud, aggravated identity theft, fraudulent use of Social Security numbers, money laundering, making false statements to a probation officer, and possessing firearms after previously having been convicted of felonies. That's a lot. Yeah. What precipitated these counts? The indictment says that Ruth, George Herman, not the Babe, obtained or attempted to obtain more than $550,000 through a scheme in which he used the names of hundreds of dead or retired pro baseball players to make phony claims for payouts in class action settlements that ranged from contact lens pricing allegations to claims of racial discrimination against the staffing agency. Have you ever made a claim on a what do you call it, class action settlement?
I have not.
Like, you ever get if you use this product, you might be entitled to money from a settlement. And inevitably it's it's $7.
Yeah.
If you use T-Mobile between X day and Y day, they had a data breach and you're entitled to financial compensation and you get your $13 or whatever it is. So this guy was running this scam and he must have had the idea, hey, my name's like a famous baseball player. What if I went and found some other baseball players? The indictment doesn't list the names of the players Ruth claimed to be, but it describes some of them who played for defunct teams such as the Philadelphia Athletics, the St. Louis Browns, and the Kansas City Packers. Real team, by the way. You may think, he made that up. The Kansas City Packers played in the Federal League. They played in 1914 and 1915. Anybody play for them is still alive?
No.
But he's trying to run a scam with very dead baseball players who are deader than Babe Ruth. A public defender representing Ruth declined to comment on the charges. He used the old baseball players' names or variations of his own name and the social security numbers of unwitting victims. Opened a dozen P.O. boxes for himself and sham companies. Quite a scam. At least you know he's a baseball fan.
Yeah.
All those hours on Baseball Reference for nothing.
I mean, that's a lot of work.
You've shamed the name of the babe.
Think how much work this guy did.
So much work. Who wins today?
I think that just because of the amount of work he had to do.
He did. He put in so much work for that scam. Does it beat stealing the smoker?
See, I don't know, because this guy is like, how is he going to get a smoker out of Paycor Stadium? Like, that's what's dumb to me. You jumped over a fence. What are you going to do? So I think, to me, that's why it edges it out.
You know, it is dumb. But also this guy was using the name of baseball players. Like, I'm going to go to the 1915 Kansas City Packers. The youngest player on that team, 22-year-old shortstop Johnny Rawlings, died in 1972. He was the youngest player on the Kansas City Packers. He's using the names of people who've been dead for over 50 years.
I mean, I guess.
To try and run a scam, try and get some financial compensation for contact lens pricing.
This guy, though, he's just a freaking baseball nerd. And he just wanted to scam people because he was a baseball nerd.
I love a good scam story. We're going to put this to a vote. Listeners, in the YouTube comments or on the text line, 785-272-9429. Do you like the phony babe or do you like the barbecue smoker theft? Vote for your favorite. 785-272-9429 and in the YouTube comments at 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk to Michael Swain next on 580 WIBW. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. And Michael, boy, you could not have asked for a better opener for the Kansas Jayhawks than what they put forth in that 31-7 win over Fresno State Saturday night, could you?
No, I think you checked a lot of boxes. You know, you can look offensively. Things looked like they should have, with Jim Zabrowski calling the plays, Jalen Daniels, having his most efficient game of his college career. That's a good way to start the season, especially if you're of the opinion like I am that KU's going to go as far as Jalen takes this team. So offensively, you really liked what you saw. Defensively, man, the first drive was a little bit of a roller coaster. The first 2.5 plays, you're kind of like, wow, all right, guys are flying around. You saw Bengali Kamara show up, and then all of a sudden 3 guys miss tackles, and there's a a huge gain, and Fresno State's able to find the end zone. But from then on, I thought the defense settled down. They settled in. You saw some of the physicality come out where KU was able to tackle a lot better. And then obviously special teams, Laith Marjan makes his 1 field goal, Finn Lappin averages 53 yards a punt. Like, it's a lot of stuff that you would take week in and week out for KU. So a good overall start. Obviously the atmosphere around the stadium was great as well. So you're right. I think it really probably could not have gone too much better for KU, just in totality.
I want to start with the defense. It's really easy to look at the offensive statistics, and they're very impressive, and we'll get to Jalen Daniels in a minute. But the defense is what really stood out to me because it looked fast and it looked deep in a way that I don't think we've used those terms to describe a KU defense. Leroy Harris started in place of the injured Dean Miller, and I'm not sure how you're supposed to keep Leroy Harris off the field. I thought he was really good. I thought the linebackers, Kamara and Latham, played super fast. I thought the defensive backs were flying around. And after that first drive hiccup where they missed some tackles and gave up the touchdown, they cleaned that issue up. They were pretty much flawless the rest of the way, forced 3 turnovers, didn't allow another point. Really, really impressed with DK McDonald's defense. What was most impressive about that performance to you?
Yeah, I think, it's one of those things where we'll see how the athleticism stacks up for KU when they go play Missouri. Because KU, I think, was always going to have an edge. But even then, like, if you've watched KU football, you know that it looked different, right? Especially at linebacker, right? Bengali Kamara being in the backfield, half a second after the ball is snapped is not something KU is getting from its linebackers over the last few years. So that part of it, I think, was super encouraging. I think KU will be tested by better quarterbacks. EJ Warner does not have the strongest arm, and I think I mentioned on the show last week, like, every single season he's played college football, he has led his conference in interceptions. So he's someone that just gives it to the other team consistently. So I want to see a competent quarterback challenge this secondary and see what that looks like, because obviously the middle of the field was somewhere Fresno State was able to have success. But I think in terms of the front seven, the different looks KU is giving between, some of the 3D tackle stuff to just 5 defensive linemen generally, I thought that all looked really good, and that's stuff you can easily see KU building off of and doing some more versatile stuff. So I think that's kind of what caught my attention, right? I just look at linebacker and say KU needs that position to be better, and those guys looked so much better just running around, and I think you'll take that in the season opener.
Michael Swain of Fog.net is our guest. This is Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. We do this every Tuesday on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Jalen Daniels had more touchdowns than incompletions, 18 to 20 in the game with 3 TDs. But what struck me was how willing he was to run early, how much designed quarterback run was in the playbook. Now, he took some hits, certainly, but he kept getting up after those hits. Do we see, I think, some pretty significant signs that this is the best physically that Jalen Daniels has felt since 2023?
I think so. I mean, man, you got to go back, I think, to 2022.
Yeah, that's what I meant, 22. Yeah.
Yeah. And even then, what are we talking in 2022, October, right? Before he had the separated shoulder. So I think that KU's going to run Jalen this year. Some of that was not planned. Fresno State, I think, did a really good job of mixing up their blitz packages there a couple times. Jalen got hit, and I'm watching the game live thinking, man, what is going on with the offensive line? And then you go back and watch, and it's actually Fresno State just deserves credit because they timed some blitzes really well, and they had more rushers than KU had blockers. So that led Jalen to run a little bit. But there was option stuff. The play before, I want to say, Cam Pickett's first touchdown, Jalen has the option that he takes and takes it like 20-plus yards. KU's going to use Jalen's legs. And I think a part of showing this is also showing Missouri in a couple weeks, hey, this is something you have to prepare for. that's something I think we got to keep in mind here too, is that even if in the second half it was very vanilla, KU really just trying to line up and go win the game by running out the clock. And I think you'll see some of that this Friday against Wagner. But in the first half, like, there was some creative stuff KU showed. I think some of that is just, hey, Missouri, look at this and playing for this. And then, KU's coaches will have counters and stuff like that ready for it. So KU's going to run Jalen this year, and they have to. You have a weapon like him, and you have an offense that I think has looked at its best over the last few years when Jalen has been mobile. So you put it all together, and you need to lean on that athleticism. Now there's going to come a time when you got to be careful, right? You don't want Jalen running the ball 15 times a game, because that's just not going to last. It doesn't matter who you are. 15 carries a game is a lot for anybody in college football, let alone someone that in his history has had just injuries pop up. So I'm fascinated to watch the balance and what that looks like over the course of the season, how teams adjust, and then how KU kind of adjust to those adjustments, because that's the key part about an offense like this is, right, if you're going to be multiple, teams are going to latch on to some of the things you're doing, and then you've got to be able to pivot. So I'm interested to see what those are for Jalen, but I do think this is going to be something. We're going to see Jalen run the ball just like we saw him do in 2022. And look, I mean, Jalen ran the ball a little bit last year, right? There was a lot more maybe the speed option stuff. There was some read option. KU did not entirely get rid of the run game, but I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to feel, I think, a little closer to 2022 than maybe 2024.
If people don't listen to this segment or they don't read your work at fog.net, first of all, shame on them for not doing either of those things. But second of all, those folks might have been surprised to have seen Cam Pickett be the breakout receiving star with his 7 catches and 2 touchdowns. But you had kind of made note that as much preseason love as Emmanuel Henderson was getting, Cam Pickett was having a really, really good camp. Is what we saw from him on Saturday kind of the idea of how he can be deployed both in a field stretching role, but also as somebody who can take a short pass and really explode?
Yeah, I think so. Man, there's so many different ways you can look at it for Pickett. Obviously, out of the slot, their hope was that it'd be, he can offer something like Luke Grimm, right? The ability just to get open, be a consistent receiving threat. What you didn't see from Luke Grimm a lot is lining up in the backfield and being used different ways like that. Both of Pickett's touchdowns came on basically the same play, where he lines up in the backfield with an RPO, they get him in the flat, and it all depends on what the defense does, if he gets the ball or if it's a run play being a high shot. That's stuff that is leaning on Pickett's versatility as a guy that has good speed, good run after the catch ability, and I just think he's going to be a really huge weapon for KU. I think he's going to lead the team in catches. I think there's a good chance he's going to lead the team in yards. And what's interesting is that he basically played a half. And in that half, he had the second best game of his college career, right? That's a pretty good sign for someone looking ahead this season. So I think Cam Pickett's going to be a huge weapon for KU. I think he's going to offer some athleticism, some versatility that I just don't think KU's had at the wide receiver position under Lance Leipold.
We're joined by Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Michael, do you think that, I know the teams, for the most part, at least the universities, they have control over the non-conference portion of the schedule. But do you think for KU that this kind of works out quite perfectly, where you tune up with a game, your first game of the season, obviously Fresno State, they are a group of 5, group of 6 team. And then you have your FCS game. This is a Friday for this one, and then you have your biggest non-conference game, the Border Showdown, as your third one. Do you think that kind of the placement of those games is just quite perfect for a team trying to get back into football season, playing a group of 5 team, and then you got an FCS team where you hope your starters kind of get out in the first half unscathed injury-wise, and then you play one of the most anticipated games of the season?
I do. I do think it's a perfect kind of schedule for KU, and I think you explained it really well. It's a good thing that I think that the opening game of the new booth was a game like Fresno State. It just would have been a little bit of a dud, I think, if it had been a game like Wagner, right? Because there's all the hype, there's all the fanfare, but everyone stepping foot in that stadium knows on Friday night Kansas is going to win by a lot, right? Going into the game this past Saturday, I think there were some fans that thought KU was going to win by a lot. I think there were some fans that thought it was going to be a close game. And I think that helps create, I think, a much more of a fun atmosphere when you there's a little sense of you don't know what's going to happen. And then, in terms of just the schedule generally, like KU can make a decision on some guys who maybe got banged up against Fresno State, like Alishawn Williams. If he's not 100% or if he's kind of in that range of, hey, if it was Missouri week or K-State week, or Big 12 title game, he could play, but it's Wagner, so, let's not actually play him. I think that's a huge bonus. Now, obviously, Missouri plays on Thursday night, so they're going to get more or less the same amount of rest, but KU's also going to have, 2 games under the belt of tuning up, and I think that's a big thing. Having that first game against, again, a G5 team that's undergone a lot of transition, first game under a new coach, right? It's not like your peak Fresno State teams, but it's still a team that has some decent talent, right? Fresno State recruits really well. They do a really good job in California. Now, I think having 2 games under KU's belt heading into Missouri, I think that's going to help. Now, granted, is it going to be the difference in the game? No, it's going to come down to making plays at the right time. But I think in terms of your ability to go into a game feeling confident, I think KU should feel pretty confident going into the Missouri game, but they can go there and compete. And I think this Friday is going to be about working out some more of the kinks. Can you tackle consistently? Offensively, can you execute? Offensive line-wise, can you work on some stuff? Can you not hold? Can you not false start? And if KU is able to do a lot of that in the first half, I think the second half is going to be a fun time to watch some of the young guys in the program. And that's what the FCS games are for if you're a really good football team. It's being able to watch some of those younger guys who, could be the future of your program, get to see them go run around a little bit. And I think that's what makes a game like Friday night interesting.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today. Get access to all of Michael's outstanding content on the Jayhawks over at Fog.net. He joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We will step aside for a timeout. We'll come back. We will wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk next. Wrapping up the 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Spencer, I kid because I love, but I got to give you a hard time here. What's the name of the game between Kansas and Missouri?
The border showdown?
No. It's the border war. They
What?
can try and change the verbiage, just like they try and call the Red River Shootout the Red River Rivalry, or they could try to dissuade us from calling Georgia and Florida the world's largest cocktail party. But that game is the border war. And just a tip that if you refer to it as a border showdown, people might think you're not from around here.
I'm just reading this schedule.
Reading the schedule. I know. That's how they got to put it on the schedule. It's a whole thing. You see it all across college football now. But just know, it's the border war. It's always going to be the border war. You know, this is where I get real, like, the PC police is gone woke, and I get real agitated about how we refer to college football and college sports rivalries. It can be the border war. It's fine. We know it's not that serious. You don't have to change the verbiage to convince us that it's not actually war. Yeah. Although, if there's a rivalry game that's kind of close, it's definitely Kansas, Missouri. Like, read your history book.
Well, it's okay, because if Missouri somehow wins that game, the students and fans can no longer rush the field after wins, or it will cost the university a hefty fine.
Yeah, the SEC raised the fine to like $500K.
Yeah.
The SEC schools are like, yo, we really need y'all not to rush the field. Please do not rush the field. Coming in the 5 o'clock hour, headlines. Maybe the Chiefs' initial 53-man roster if they care to release it. And we'll preview tonight's Royals game. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Thank you so much for being with us on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. We're glad you're along. We have got one more hour today before we get over to our coverage of Royals baseball from the Royals Baseball Network. 6 o'clock pregame and a 6:40 first pitch in Chicago tonight. Royals trying to bounce back after an ugly 7-0 loss to the White Sox last night. First pitch, 6:40. You'll catch it right here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Want to hear from you? 785-272-9429 is the text line number. You can also jump into the live chat on YouTube. Name of the channel again, 580 Sports Talk. We have added a subscriber today. We are now 7 shy of 800.
Let's go.
Seven-
Let's get us 7 more.
7 subscribers shy of 800, which has been our stretch goal for months now. When we get there, Brendan Dworzinski and I, Brendan's off today. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis across the glass. He's the hype man. That's who we are. Brendan and I are going to arm wrestle when we get to 800 subscribers. So we are now 7 subscribers short of that mark. Maybe you could be subscriber 794. Pick up your phone. 95. Pick up your phone. Search 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Slam that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you nothing but a click.
Can we get to 799 before the Chiefs release their initial 53-man roster?
Maybe, because that doesn't seem like it's in a hurry to drop from the Kansas City Chiefs. We talked at the top of the show. It's Cutdown Day, and the deadline for roster moves is 3 p.m. Central Time. And we had planned this show around knowing the 53-man roster in the 3 o'clock hour. We are now into the 5 o'clock hour. We do not know the 53-man roster. In fact,
Yes.
we are no closer to knowing the 53-man roster than we were when I ran down all of the public cuts. Like all of the stuff that's been reported by like Chiefs insiders, NFL reporters. We had nothing new coming from One Arrowhead Drive.
Yeah, when I went to check our subscriber count, it pins our live post to the top. And it gives a description, and it says, the Chiefs must get down to their initial 53. Who got cut? We don't know yet.
Well, we know some of who got cut.
Yes, but not all of them.
We don't know them all. Maybe we'll find out this hour. It's very possible, but we'll keep an eye on it. We did, though, see this from a friend of the program, ESPN Chiefs beat writer Nate Taylor. He quote tweeted Rich Samini, who covers the Jets for ESPN. Samini tweeted about an hour ago, cuts had to be submitted by 4 p.m. Eastern time. The Jets have not announced their cuts. Some teams prefer to wait until the waiver wire is released, which is 7 to 8-ish Eastern time, thinking it gives them a competitive advantage. And Nate Taylor quoted that and said the Chiefs could do the same. So there is a chance that we could sign off today not knowing the Chiefs 53-man roster.
And then get an announcement like 5 minutes after we sign off.
5 minutes after we go off the air. It's starting, honestly, to feel a little personal. I've said a lot of nice things about Brett Beach, and this is how he does me. He's not going to drop a 53-man roster. He's not going to give me stuff to talk about.
Yo, I walked by the man, and he gave me the head nod the other day.
Tyler in the YouTube comments asks, how do the players not leak it? Some players do. Some players will go public and say, damn, crazy business, on to the next, or something like that.
Or like Chris Oladokin did today.
Yeah, Chris Oladokin broke the news that he got cut and said, hey, not the worst thing in the world. I had a good round of golf today. So he had a good humor about the subject. But yeah, you would think there might be more of that out there, that you'd have like, somebody who got cut out there posting on their Instagram, like Drake lyrics. And then you'd know, oh, well, he got cut.
Yeah.
You get the lyrics from Marvin's Room. No, he didn't make the 53. No, we still don't know. We're hoping to be able to pass it along before the show is over, but that's up to the Chiefs. And again, there's an element apparently of gamesmanship here on the part of the Chiefs. So there's a chance we don't get there. And even if we don't, we'll still talk some Chiefs this final hour. We got to continue our countdown to Chiefs kickoff after all. We're 10 days away from Chiefs Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And number 10 for the Chiefs is Isaiah Pacheco. We'll talk a little bit about him. We'll also preview tonight's Royals game. We got headlines coming up. We neglected to end the 4 o'clock hour by telling you who won What Is Wrong With You today. It was not quite unanimous, but it was a resounding victory for the story that I'm going to refer to as the Great Shambino, the gentleman with the same given name as Babe Ruth, George Herman Ruth, who ran a class action lawsuit scam by using the names and fake social security numbers of baseball players who, like his namesake, have been dead for 7 decades.
Yeah.
Up to 7 decades, maybe more. So the Great Shambino is what I'm calling. You've seen The Sandlot, right?
Yeah.
King of Crash. The Colossus of Cloud. Colossus of Cloud. What a great movie. What a great scene.
Classic.
I can't wait till my
note,
son gets old enough to show him that movie.
Olivia hadn't seen the movie before.
Really? I wonder if my
So
wife's seen it.
last July, literally, I think it was July 3rd or 4th, like it was on the 4th of July, we watched the movie. I made her watch the movie.
I'm glad that she was willing to sit down and watch that with you. There is a long list of movies that my wife has not seen that I have like, oh, you got to watch that. Like some of my favorite movies ever. Like she's never seen Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas.
Wow.
It's a guy movie. Let's be
Yeah.
honest about Goodfellas. I understand why she hasn't seen it, but it's like, you got to see Goodfellas. She did watch The Big Lebowski with me. That's my favorite movie, like, of all time. I think that's my favorite movie ever. But we got some sports movies that are blind spots. She hasn't seen Bull Durham. I don't know if she's seen The Sandlot. She hasn't seen Field of Dreams. But of course, now we have a child. So any list of movies and shows, like we're doing a lot of watching of television lately.
Shout out to our 794 subscriber.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We are up to 794. Can we get, do I hear 795? Do I hear 795? Are you out there? Punch up 580 Sports Talk on YouTube on your phone. Hit that subscribe button if you're out there. Get us to a nice half round number. I like the thought of 95 being 5 away from 800 by the end of the day.
If the Buffalo Bills at 501 Central can post their roster, so can the Chiefs.
Well, did the Chiefs?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'm saying if they did. The Bills did. I'm saying if they can. News. No. No, I have their post notified to notify me on X.
Oh, that's good. That's smart.
Yeah.
Let's get to some news that we can break. Let's get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines to open this 5 o'clock hour. Here on 580 Sports Talk, we began with the 2026 Major League Baseball schedule, released today at the exact same time that the world was finding out that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were engaged. Impeccable timing by Major League Baseball. They always pick the funniest possible time when nobody in the world is paying attention to them to release like their biggest news.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like they did in the COVID year, I think they did Gold Glove announcements on election night. Like 95% of my Twitter timeline that night was like, well, we had early returns from Connecticut, and it looks like Joe Biden is going to carry the state of Connecticut. And then the other 5% was Evan White is the Gold Glove winner at first base for the Seattle Mariners. Like, have some feel. And now this one isn't their fault, right? Like, MLB's social and PR people didn't wake up today thinking the most famous woman in the world was going to announce her engagement to a prominent NFL star. Like, sometimes it's a bad beat. But at the same time, it's very Major League Baseball to have your spotlight stolen by something. And their spotlight was very much stolen. But in case you missed it, the Major League Baseball schedule is indeed out. We know that the Royals will open their 2026 season on the road. And for the first time ever, they will open against a National League team. They will play the Atlanta Braves on March 26th. It's the earliest opening day in club history. The Royals will play their first game of 2026, March 26th in Atlanta. Then they'll have a day off and play Saturday and Sunday before returning home for a 6-game homestand. The home opener, Monday, March 30th, against the Minnesota Twins. I think that's the third time in 4 years they've opened with the Twins at home. Or They've done it a lot recently.
Yeah.
Had the Twins be their home opener. March 30th, Monday, opening day at the K, then a day off, then 2 more with the Twins and 3 with Milwaukee. Some other notable dates. Lots of divisional games early. Following that 3-game series with Milwaukee, the first meeting of the year with Cleveland is on the road, followed by the first meeting with the White Sox, a 4-game series, followed by the first meeting with Detroit, a 3-game series on the road. So the Royals will see all of the AL Central within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is their first 19 games. They will play 13 of those against their AL Central brethren. Other notable dates on the Royals' schedule. The St. Louis series will occur in mid-June with the home series against St. Louis. They'll play St. Louis on what is called rivalry weekend across Major League Baseball, May 15th through the 17th, a 3-game series at Busch Stadium. The return series will be in June, but the Royals will be having to work around the World Cup. So it is a funky schedule that will see them play Thursday and Friday against St. Louis and then not play the 20th, presumably to accommodate a World Cup match at Arrowhead Stadium, and then finish the series on Sunday the 21st. There's a similar scheduling quirk in July on which Friday the 3rd is an open date for the Royals. Again, that is presumably to accommodate the World Cup. And then there's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday wraparound home series against the Philadelphia Phillies. All-Star Week, middle of July as always, 13th through the 16th. I already forget who's hosting the All-Star Game next year. Is it Texas? No, it was Texas 2 years ago. Who's got the 2026 All-Star Game? You remember?
I don't. I'm typing that in as we speak.
Philadelphia.
Philly.
Yeah, it's in Philadelphia this year. Let's see. As far as the interleague matchups that are of the greatest interest to the hosts of this program, the Royals are in D.C. June 15th through the 17th.
I like that scheduling better, but can we be here instead?
Yeah, they also go to Denver to play the Rockies late July, early August, 31st through the 2nd. At least it's the weekend series. Maybe I can convince my wife to drive back out there for that. And they will play the Cubs at home. The Cubs, Brendan Brzezinski's beloved Cubs, come to the K August 7th through the 9th, another weekend series. Royals will conclude their season with a 6-game homestand against the White Sox and Guardians. Their final 6 games could be very influential in the division race next year, at least the 3 against Cleveland. So that is the Royals schedule. As far as the broader Major League Baseball schedule, they announced these key dates today. They will go back to having an opening night game prior to the league-wide opening day. The Yankees and Giants will play the first game of the 2026 season on March 25th, and then opening day for the rest of baseball will be March 26th. All 30 teams will be in action on Jackie Robinson Day, April 15th, Lou Gehrig Day, June 2nd, and Roberto Clemente Day, September 15th. Rivalry weekend, as we mentioned, is May 15th through the 17th. All 30 teams will also be in action on the 4th of July and on September 27th when the regular season ends. So that is the Major League Baseball schedule. And the Royals will, again, open on the road in Atlanta, open at home against the Twins Monday, March 30th. Question from the text line from the 785. All-Star Game was in Atlanta this year. I thought it alternated between the American League and National League stadiums. They have kind of gotten off of that in recent years. They have, I think, gone to more of it's been a long time since you've hosted an All-Star Game, so let's give you the All-Star Game sort of rotation, I guess.
It's going to be 3 straight American or 3 straight National League ballparks because in 2027 they already announced that Wrigley Field will host.
That's right. Yeah, they're going to Wrigley Field. So yeah, they'll do 3 straight National League. They got off of the rotation. It looks like you go all the way back to 06 and 07 when they had back-to-back National League parks host, PNC Park in Pittsburgh, AT&T Park in San Francisco, hosted back-to-back years. And that was to arrange it so that Yankee Stadium would then host in 2008, which was the final year of the old Yankee Stadium. Then they got back on a rotation for a while. Then that got blown up again in 17-18 when Miami and D.C. hosted back-to-back years. Then you had back-to-back National League games, 21 and 22, with Colorado and Los Angeles. Then back-to-back American League parks in 23 and 24. So maybe that is a bit of a relic of the past, because would it surprise you to hear that Rob Manfred did something that was counter to hundreds of years of baseball tradition? Would it surprise you to hear that in any way? Anyhow, next headline, Spencer.
Yes, we're going to stay with some Kansas State women's basketball alumni news. Excuse me. 2 notes here. Recent K-State graduate Serena Sundell has signed a contract with the WNBA's Dallas Wings and will be activated for Wednesday's game against the Connecticut Sun. She signed a 7-day hardship contract by the Wings after former Big 12 I believe player of the year, JJ Quinterly for West Virginia. She went down with a season-ending injury, so Serena Sundell will replace a fellow Big 12 alumni. And she's also, in addition to the signing with Dallas, she signed a contract to play in Australia's WNBL. She'll begin her season with Adelaide. Adelaide in October. Also, fellow Kansas State women's basketball alum Gabby Gregory made her debut in Puerto Rico yesterday. She hasn't played basketball professionally in a year. She dropped 27 last night, 6 boards,
Nice,
and 5 3-pointers.
Next headline, we go back to the National Football League. We'll get into some notable cuts that have been made, since the Chiefs don't want to talk about theirs. We can talk about some other ones that are happening around the league. But the New Orleans Saints, last team in the league to announce their starting quarterback. It'll be Spencer Rattler, who gets the nod in week 1 for the Saints. Remember when they drafted Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round this year's draft?
Yeah.
And he couldn't beat out Spencer Rattler, despite the fact that he's already, I think, older than Spencer Rattler. Like, we do this every year in the draft, but I remember when a lot of people were talking about Tyler Shuck as like a possible 1st-round pick.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, look, I know I don't watch every college football game, but I feel like if Tyler Shuck were good, I would have known. Like, I follow college football closely enough that I would have known if Tyler Shuck were actually good. And it turns out he's not good enough to beat out Spencer Rattler for a starting job in the National Football League, because we got Spencer Rattler on tape in the NFL. We know he stinks. So feel like nobody's talking about the Saints and how bad that has the potential to be. It's a terrible quarterback situation all the way up and down. But they're the last team in with their starting quarterback. It'll be Spencer Rattler in New Orleans.
They were also rumored, I don't know how true these rumors were, but to want to have traded the Bears for their backup Tyson Bagent. So
Bagent would start for them.
Yeah,
I think
they would have traded, and he would have been the starter.
I think without a question he would have started for them. You've got another NFL quarterback headline to give us.
Yes, I do, if my screen would work. There we go. The Browns last night, they traded quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Raiders for a 5th-round pick. I believe I sent this to you guys. I think it's like the 8th trade involving a 2022 second, or the quarterbacks drafted in the 2022 NFL draft have now been traded a combined 8 times. And this paves way for 3 quarterbacks on the Browns roster, with the Browns making the announcement, obviously, weeks ago that Joe Flacco will start, and then it will be today. They made the announcement that Dylan Gabriel will back up, and Shador Sanders will be the emergency 3rd quarterback. And on the Raiders end, this works out because Aiden O'Connell is hurt.
Yeah, they needed a backup quarterback for Geno Smith in the worst kind of way. 9 quarterbacks drafted in 2022. And we all kind of thought they were a pretty stinky crop of quarterbacks at the time, and we were right. Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Bailey Zappi, Sam Howell, Chris Oladokun, Skylar Thompson, Brock Purdy. The last shall be first.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know how. I was telling Brennan this today because he just got traded the other day. Sam Howell is somehow good enough to keep being traded.
Yeah, I don't know why people keep talking themselves into Sam Howell as a backup quarterback.
It's hilarious.
I really don't understand that. But yeah, Matt Corral. If Matt Corral's still in the league, I don't know about it. Malik Willis is a fine backup. Kenny Pickett's probably a fine backup. I'm not even sure Desmond Ridder and Bailey Zappi are that. Clearly, the Chiefs don't think so on Bailey Zappi. Chris Oladokin is a practice squad guy. We know that. Skylar Thompson's going to be the third quarterback in Pittsburgh because Will Howard's starting the season on injured reserve. So a Will Howard injury clearing the way for Skylar Thompson. Bit of irony there, but yeah, it's Brock Purdy and a bunch of clipboard carriers from that 2022 draft for sure. One more headline today from the Big 12. This coming from the fall of Colorado. Is retiring after 4 years of service as college football's greatest mascot. This is the press release from the University of Colorado. Ember will now transition to a companion buffalo role, living with Ralphie V on their ranch. Due to an indifference to running, typical of many mammals, both four-legged and two-legged, it was determined that it was in Ember's best interest, based on her disposition, to focus on relaxing strolls on the pasture, which is her favorite hobby. Two things about that line: indifference to running. Number one, relatable, am I right? Typical this two-legged mammal. I've got a real indifference to running. I can tell you all about that. I much prefer relaxing strolls on a pasture to a dead sprint. I have an indifference to running. Me and Ralphie the Sixth, we're the same. Second of all, this was not a secret. This was something that if you were a Colorado fan or if you watched a Colorado football game, I went to see him play Oregon State, I guess 2 seasons ago now. Went with a buddy of mine who's a CU alum. He hooked us up with tickets. I flew back to Colorado for the weekend, went up to Boulder, saw the game. It was plainly obvious that Buffalo did not like to run, did not want to run, did not have any enthusiasm for running, and was going to take her sweet time running like 10 yards down the field and be like, all right, I'm done. Get me back to my pen. Get me out of here. I don't really want to be out here. I don't really want to be doing this. If you've seen like the old clips of if you've seen in K-State fans, you'll remember like back when you guys used to play in Boulder every single year, and you see Ralphie just tearing out of her corral and flying down the field and turning hard and running in front of that student section there at Folsom Field. It's an unbelievable display. They're incredible animals. This animal very clearly didn't really want to be out there. Didn't really want to run. And so after 4 years, they're not going to make her anymore. And I find that to be hysterical. And I also find it to be very relatable. How would you describe yourself, Spencer, as having an indifference to running?
Yes, I would.
The sad thing about this is nothing sad for Ember. She gets to go and be happy on a ranch. But we will not, at least initially, see the running of the mascot at Colorado games this season. From the press release, since top prioritization is given to the Buffalo's health, well-being, happiness, and safety, there is no exact timeline for Ralphie the Seventh's debut while she continues training. In the interim, the Buffalo's football team will take the field without the university's beloved live mascot. Terrible vibes. 4-8. You don't have Ralphie, you're not winning at Folsom. They're gonna get beat by Georgia Tech this weekend. I think that's Friday night. They're gonna get beat. Anyway, that is do it for our 580 Sports Talk headline. Vance in the YouTube comment says I must be part Buffalo. Like I said, who among us doesn't have or has not had experienced an indifference to running? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and we'll do our Chiefs countdown to kickoff and maybe our countdown to receiving a 53-man roster from the Chiefs, which is ongoing. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 5:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Spencer with you. 5:32 means it was 2 hours and 32 minutes ago that the NFL's deadline was in place for teams to whittle their training camp rosters down to an initial 53-man regular season roster. That was the deadline. Now, the Chiefs are not the only team that has not released their 53-man roster, and they're not the only team that has taken their sweet time in doing so. The Bears just put theirs out. The Seahawks put theirs out not long ago. The Giants dragged their feet on theirs. So it's not just a Chiefs phenomenon here.
It's a slimming number of teams, though.
Yes, it is a dwindling number of teams that have not done it, and it's an irritating number of teams because it includes the Chiefs, and that's the one I want. I don't want to sit here and talk about the Seahawks 53 or the Giants 53. I will say this about the Seahawks. They cut Marquez Valdez-Scantling today.
They signed to like a 1-year, $4.5 million deal or something.
Yeah, they gave him like money, and they cut him. And I can't say that I'm surprised because I've seen those movies. Doesn't surprise me. Did not surprise me. Not even a little bit. So we can go back through the list of players that we know have been cut by the Chiefs. We'll try our best to go position by position here. They've cut 2 of their quarterbacks. We knew that would happen. Bailey Zappi, Chris Oladokun. Probably Oladokun back to the practice squad. I would imagine he would clear waivers. Wide receiver Hal Presley was cut. If you didn't even know he was on the camp roster, you're not alone. Trey Watson at tight end was cut. Carson Steele was cut. I know there were some people that were maybe a little surprised by that or were rooting for Carson to make the team. But looks like the Chiefs are probably going to start with 3 running backs. I can't imagine Elijah Mitchell makes the team. Haven't heard either way, but I cannot imagine that he is going to make it. So probably just 3 running backs for the Chiefs to start. So farewell, Carson Steele, and all the best to you and Crocky J in your future endeavors, wherever they may take you. As far as offensive linemen go, Dalton Cooper got cut yesterday, so we knew about that. Esapole got cut. Man, I hope he gets through the practice squad. That's the one guy so far that the Chiefs have cut where I've said, I really hope they can find a way to keep him.
Well, and I feel like usually guys that you cut later are the bigger practice squad candidates.
How so? How do you mean?
Like, I guess they didn't do it. So, like, some teams cut players, like, right away after the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And I guess that's more of what I was thinking. Like back like when they had the layered roster cuts. If you were one of the first people cut, you're not making a. So I may be old on what I'm thinking.
No, I think I understand your thought process. Like maybe trying to not leak a player hitting the practice squad or hitting the waiver wire so that there's less of a chance they get claimed. Yeah, or cutting a guy early to maybe give him a chance to have their agent reach out and make a contingency plan for maybe getting picked up when the waiver period opens. Like I understand what you're saying there. Now that you laid it out. Other offensive linemen, I mentioned Esapole. CJ Hansen also cut today. He's a practice squad candidate. So is Chu Godric, who could be the international pathway player again on the practice squad if he makes it through waivers. On defense, defensive linemen, Marlon Tuipulotu, Keziah Izzard, Nate Matlack, all were cut today. Linebackers, Cam Jones, who'd been a core special teamer, got cut. He's probably the guy among the cuts that we know about who's played the most for the Chiefs, but it looks like Cooper McDonald just flat out beat him out, and that he maybe offers more as an emergency fill-in on defense than Cam Jones does while still having an opportunity to be a special teams contributor. So Cooper McDonald, the undrafted free agent rookie out of TCU, makes the team over Cam Jones. Cole Christensen also cut, maybe a practice squad guy. And then at defensive back, Mike Edwards got cut. That was announced late yesterday. I don't know yet if it was an injury designation. He did have the hamstring injury, but that's the kind of thing typically you find out when teams release their 53-man rosters, which, again, the Chiefs have yet to officially do. Also, Melvin Smith and Kevin Knowles were cut by the Chiefs. I think Knowles has a real chance to get to the practice squad. I think Smith does too. I liked Knowles better than Smith in camp, but both guys being cut by the Chiefs. They still got a lot more cuts to announce and are clearly not in a hurry to do so. So with that in mind, let's move and continue with our Chiefs countdown to kickoff, because we are 10 days away from the Chiefs and the Chargers in Brazil, starting the 2025 NFL season for both teams. And number 10 for the Chiefs is Isaiah Pacheco. And I have felt in watching his preseason action this year, Spencer, he looks like he did in 2023. He looks back to himself in a way that I don't think he ever got back to after the injury, which is understandable given the nature of his broken leg that he suffered in week 2 last year. It's certainly understandable that he didn't get all the way back to 100% for the stretch run in the playoffs last year. But what I've seen in the preseason, he's back to running like he's mad at the grass. He's back to running like he's got a point to prove and showing some speed, some ability to get down the field. And for a Chiefs team that missed that element in their running game, that Kareem Hunt deserves for filling in as ably as he could after the Pacheco injury, and for the Chiefs adjusting to what their identity had to be with a primary ball carrier like Kareem Hunt, who has the skills that Kareem Hunt now has, but is also limited in the way that an older Kareem Hunt now is. They missed the identity that Isaiah Pacheco gave them in the running game. And I think he's got a chance for a big bounce back here. I was looking up his numbers. Take a guess, Spencer. You know, Isaiah Pacheco has 2.5 seasons. How many times he's rushed for over 100 yards?
Maybe once or twice.
4 times.
Oh.
4 times. Do you know how many times he's carried the ball more than 20 times? 20 or more times in a game. You know how many times he had 20 plus carries in a game? So, only 4 times. And that includes the playoffs, by the way. He has not been asked to be that sort of workhorse back for the Chiefs. And part of that is, why would you run the ball so dang much when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback? So there's an element of that to it, right? That's like, he's never going to be a 25, 30 carry guy, because if you're the Chiefs, why are you running the ball 25, 30 times? Unless you're playing in a monsoon or you take a 28-0 lead after the first quarter, why would you do it?
Yeah, I was trying to think back to the game. I just found the play right at the end of the first quarter. They had the ball at the Bears.
Which game was this?
This
The
was
Bears
the final preseason game.
Okay.
They had the ball at the Bears 17. He ran it off the far side and got inside the 5. That's when he hit his head on the wall. Did you watch the game?
Yes, I saw the game. He hit the trash can.
Yeah, he hit the trash can, but if you watch it, his head actually hit the.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
It didn't look good, but no, you could see that burst off the edge, and everybody in the press box was like, "That's a Pacheco we haven't seen since pre-injury."
And I felt that way too in Seattle when he caught that pass into the flat and took off down the sideline. Like, yeah, that was that got
a wow before that. Like, when he was off the edge and he got around, it got a wow in the press box.
Yeah, I
got a. Like, I hope he's not hurt.
Yeah, no kidding. A lot of jokes on social media because he ran into the trash can. A lot of people were making jokes about, oh, hey, he ran it. He almost took out Caleb Williams there. Like, it's not very nice, but also, insert whoever you think is trash.
I'm watching this playback, and the reason it happened is because Josh Simmons just completely took his man out of the play and gave him this wide open outside hole.
I was going to put him on the bus, coach. Josh Simmons is going to put some people on the bus.
Yeah.
I was going to put him on the bus, coach. Some other notable cuts from around the league. A lot of old friends, old Chiefs pals were cut today. I mentioned Marquez Valdez-Scantling cut by the Seahawks. McCole Hardman did not make the Packers 53-man roster. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not make the Saints 53-man roster. I do not believe there are reunions imminent with any of those players. I would not be surprised this is it for Clyde.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough for that guy. I mean, and
he's been through a lot that isn't football related, and nobody will ever say a bad word about Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a teammate, but he didn't make that Saints team. That doesn't bode particularly well for Clyde's NFL future. Mentioned McCole Hardman got cut by the Packers. Don't think a reunion is likely there. Like, the Chiefs are going to cut a wide receiver they don't really want to cut.
Yeah.
Like, they are spoiled for choice at wide receiver. I don't think McCole Hardman, again, if it's a break glass in case of emergency deal like it was when they brought Hardman back 2 years ago, maybe that's a guy they call, but I don't think that's going to be something that happens on purpose.
Yeah. The Chiefs have a lot of depth at linebacker, but the Bears cut Swayze Bozeman.
Swayze Bozeman, yeah.
Bozeman.
He dressed for the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah. He found himself elevated for 3 games if the Super Bowl's in there.
Yeah.
And then Echo Boydo got cut by the Cardinals to corner.
Yeah, it was a tough day for a lot of former K-Staters. Juju Brents was cut by the Colts today. He was their second-round pick in 2023, and 2 years later, he's cut. They were going to try and trade him and didn't find any takers, so Juju Brents didn't make the team. Deuce Vaughn cut by the Cowboys. Just hasn't quite worked out for Deuce Vaughn. I mean, you know, there are limitations there. Exciting college player, but there were certainly some limitations size-wise that make it a hard climb for a guy like Deuce, and never really clicked in the pros for him. Who else? There was another former K-Stater got cut, and I cannot remember for the life of me. And I'm not saying this to pick on K-State, just as far as people that you're familiar. Duke Shelley got cut. So that was another one. And unfortunately, much to the chagrin of our guy, Brendan Dworzinski, the Packers cut Corey Ballantyne today. The former Shawnee Heights Thunderbird and Washburn Ichabod did not make the initial 53 for the Packers. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll talk a little baseball. Get you set for Royals baseball tonight. Pregame's coming up in about 15 minutes here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So we'll talk some baseball after this on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up, bottom of the hour, top of the 6 o'clock hour, we hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network. The Royals and the White Sox playing game 2 of their 3-game series at Rate Field tonight. 6:40 scheduled first pitch. It'll be Michael Lorenzen on the mound for the Royals tonight, and something that has been a issue for the Royals in recent games has been their inability to get their starting pitcher deep into a game. And with that in mind, Michael Lorenzen is maybe not the ideal starting pitcher for the moment. It's his second start since coming off the injured list. And, in his first outing back from the injured list, which was against Texas. He lasted just 4 1/3 innings. He's kind of been a 5-and-fly guy all year. Fortunately for the Royals, even though he was terrible last night, they got 5 innings out of Noah Cameron. And Daniel Lynch stopped up a couple of innings in middle relief. So the Royals were able to stay off of Zerpa and Schreiber and Clark and Bolin, who are their more reliable middle inning relief arms for the moment. And have obviously stayed off of Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez on the back end. So all those guys should be fresh and ready to activate should the Royals need them tonight. Martin Perez is the starting pitcher for the White Sox. Did you remember Martin Perez was on the White Sox? I sure didn't. Did you remember he started this season with 6 no-hit innings against the Twins? Because I sure didn't.
Nope.
Yeah, he was dynamite in his first 2 starts. Then he was just okay in his 3rd start, and then he got hurt in his 4th start, and he didn't pitch again until 6 days ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, he missed 4 months with an injury. Just returned off the injured list and was really good at Atlanta. 5 1/3 innings of a 3-hit ball.
Back to the Royal starting pitching from last night. If you told me that Noah Cameron was able to go 5 innings, giving up 8 hits and 6 earned runs, and he still had under 100 pitches, that's crazy.
Yeah, it goes to show you he just didn't really have sharp stuff.
Yeah.
And the White Sox were just jumping on everything. They were getting a really good look at Cameron last night. It was a very efficient game. You mentioned what game time was like almost exactly 2 hours.
According to the game log on the MLB at Bat app, it was exactly 2 hours.
Wow.
Started at 6:40, ended at 8:40.
Man, was it even dark out? That's unbelievable. Yeah, like Shane Smith, 80 pitches and 7 one-hit innings. Yeah, it was efficient work
Like if you
by
told
both
me
starters, but not in a good way for Noah Cameron.
But if you told me it was a 7-0 game that involved 13 hits and like probably 15, 16 total base runners, and each team had, I mean, like you still had you were at 102 and maybe under 250 pitches for a 7 runs scored in the game. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fast moving for sure. Text from 785 asked how much last night's outing hurts Noah Cameron's Rookie of the Year case. I don't think anything hurts his Rookie of the Year case more than Nick Kurtz continuing to rake. He homered again last night. He's got 27 dingers. I think it's going to be Kurtz. I don't think it's going to be close in the end. But I think Cameron should get on the podium. Like, for me, he's a top 3 rookie in the American League still, even after a dud of an outing last night. I still have him in my top 3, but sure feels like Kurtz is running away with that American League Rookie of the Year. Lineups tonight against the left-hander Martin Perez. The Royals will lead off Michael Garcia at third base. Then Bobby Witt Jr. is at short, Vinny Pasquantino's at first, and Salvador Perez will do the catching. Randall Grichuk is in right field batting 5th. Jonathan India is at second base. Nick Lofton in left field. Adam Frazier, one of only 2 lefties to start tonight, will DH and bat 8th. Tyler Tolbert gets the nod in center field, batting 9th. For the White Sox against the right-hander Lorenzen, Michael Tauchman will lead off in right field, followed by Miguel Vargas at first base and catcher Kyle Teal. Lenine Sosa will play second base and hit cleanup. Colson Montgomery is the shortstop batting 5th. Luis Robert Jr. bats 6th in center field. Royal Great Andrew Benintendi bats 7th. He's the DH. And Curtis Mead at third base and Brooks Baldwin, who homered last night in left field, batting 9th. It's not quite must-win territory, but that might just be a personal preference not to use that phrase. Tired and overwrought phrase. That being said, Jim Tracy, who managed in the major leagues for a long time, was manager of the year with the Rockies in 2009, also managed the Pirates, also managed the Dodgers. He used to say, it would behoove us to win tomorrow. And that is what I will say about the Royals. Must win. I don't say any game is a must win unless it is literally an elimination game. But it would behoove the Royals to find a way back into the win column tonight. And for that matter, tomorrow in the series finale, which is tomorrow night against the White Sox. Any of the outcomes or the outlooks we had for the Royals that involved them having enough wins to make the playoffs by the end of September included a series win here in Chicago. And they put themselves behind the 8 ball with what I believe was their worst single 9 innings of baseball for the 2025 season. Can't be worse, right? We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show with the final word. Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. We still don't have a 53-man roster for the Chiefs. So, Spencer Dupuis, since your final word won't be that, what do you got today?
My final word is something that has transcended sports and pop culture today. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, they get engaged. The biggest story today in sports. It took over what was the MLB schedule release. It's taken over final cuts. The Chiefs just want to let their cuts wait because they want to give this story as much shine as possible.
Maybe that's what it is.
But what I want to tell you here is this is not a story. This is not a love story. Maybe she did say yes, but it is a story of shooting your shot. Travis Kelce shot a shot a couple of years ago. He brought friendship bracelets to the concert at Arrowhead. You know what he said? Was that quote by Michael Scott or Wayne Gretzky? You miss 100% of the shots you never take. What did he do? He shot his shot, people. You can shoot your shots. You can aim big in life, and you can dream big, and you can accomplish anything you want. Travis Kelce accomplished getting a girlfriend that will now be his wife, the biggest pop star in the world. That's my final word.
It's a love story, baby. Just say yes. Final word for me tonight. If Kansas State is going to be the team that I still believe that they can be, which is a Big 12 champion, they've got 11 more chances to wash the taste of that loss in Dublin out of their mouths. And I think that they're capable. They are talented enough. I think they are well coached enough. I still believe in Kansas State. I'm not going to let a 3-point loss on a neutral field to a really good team convince me that suddenly they're not good. But they have got to win when the going gets tough. That is what they must prove moving forward. That they are not just flat track bullies who thrive when all conditions are ideal and everything is on their side. They get a lot of those games, to be honest, because of the talent level that they have, because of the advantage that they enjoy at home and all of those things. Can they win when the weather sucks? Can they win when the circumstances are difficult? Can they win when they have to come from behind? Those are the kinds of things that champions do. I believe K-State has it in them, but they now have to prove that and maybe have to prove it to themselves a little bit after the disappointment of that loss. It has started to fade away. There's new business ahead for the Wildcats. They've got North Dakota coming up on Saturday and a chance to start writing that news story. They're more than capable. I'm still a believer. That'll do it for 580 Sports Talk today. Royals baseball is next. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 until 6. Maybe we'll have a Chiefs 53-man roster by then. Who's to say? For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero, and this was 580 Sports Talk. Good night!